Yo, it's ODB, our lifestyle podcast. This is issue 62 of Mini Truckin Magazine, February 97. If you've been following along, we're going through every issue. Go back. You can subscribe, and we've started at issue 1. And this is now issue 62. We're going to go through all 269. Epic cover. I really love this cover. I dig it. You got a super clean Nissan on the cover. You got a nice model. You have some good background landscape. And again, we're kicking off kind of second issue of 97. We talked about how epic the 96 year was. On the cover, you see Trenz Manufacturing. So we'll see Mr. Doug DeBerti, former guest on OLP. Thanks to our friend Josh Ellis. You also see here killer tech stuff inside and coast-to-coast show coverage, which is damn good. If you saw our recent video, I uploaded one on 8/1 to mark the 41st anniversary of MTV going on the air. Although this doesn't tie into 8/1/81, it does somewhat tie into MTV. Of course, this was a parody kind of song of Downward OLP or Downward OPP. Go back and check out the other video where I talk about how this tied into one of our designs. But I know you guys came here to see this flip through. Unique Creations. I don't know if it's the same club, but this is their second of, they have 2 covers. The first one was the, what I call I See You Looking Rally in Vegas cover, which was issue 6, winter 1990. This is also, I believe, Unique Creations. And again, someone could chime in if they know if it's the same club. Also want to point out that Doug Culp had chimed in on one of our recent videos. So thanks, Doug. We talked about Doug having had shot the first cover. And when Alan Paradise was on the podcast, I brought his name up. So shout out to Doug. He seems to be willing to come on the podcast. All right, so the first thing you're going to see is a very weird ad. I don't know if it was weird for the time. Obviously eye-catching. Not sure it would really work today. But, you know, times are different. And here you can see it's high-definition loudspeakers. Kind of a different one, okay? I remember seeing this guy in other ads, I believe. So, there you go. I'm not going to really go in depth there. Here you have the TOC, table of contents, the truck there that you see, the Yoda. I believe that is one of the trucks I called out maybe in the last issue, kind of that ballistic feel. Obviously, killer truck. You see here about, give or take, depending on how you break it down, about, I think, 7 features. Technically, you see some technical there. You have Sean Carlson, rest in peace, Forerunner. There in the table of contents, you have events. NOPI was popping in those days. Tsunami Summer, Desired Creations up in Bellingham, Washington, Endless Summer 96. Special shop tour we saw on the cover. Shout out to Trenz, Doug DeBerti, and then Robert Kaminsky's 86.5 Nissan Hardbody King Cab. There you see shop tour by Tom Lutz, and Shartsis, of course, shot it. Nikon photography work. Isuzu Hombre extended cab rendering. Okay, so let's jump in. You have the editorial. I loved when the editorials by Shartsis or the other editors would tie in photos like this. Just gave more content, and you kind of sprinkled in, you know, some of the story, if you will, on what they were kind of talking about. You got the famous ads. Man, this is a killer truck, Green Machine. It's like, where did we go wrong in Mini Truckin? We didn't go wrong. We just went bigger and badder. But if you look at how clean these trucks were of this era. And what is that? That's got to be some sort of cruise control. I don't know. Someone could chime in. But, you know, in 100% keeping it real, yards of tweed covered everything. This era is fantastic. And, you know, you start to get out of the era when, you know, static drop trucks were featured on the cover. You know, you get to the point where everything was body dropped. But looking back on it, it's so awesome that mini trucking's been around as long as it has, because there's so many different genres. I mean, I look at, there's a shout out to Mini Truck Era on Instagram. Like, that whole crew that's out in California, that, the dancing bed guys, the tilt bed guys, not just in California, but, you look at the movement of all these guys cruising like every single weekend. I mean, it is insane how much mini trucks have come back. And, maybe not everybody is have been in it the same amount of time. Maybe some guys have gotten out and gotten back in, but it's great to be where we're at now because of so much that's happened over the years. And what I mean by that is just, the different builds, the different eras, from the 70s to 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. It's freaking insane to see how far we've come. Speaking of that, episode 300 of Our Lifestyle Podcast is dropping this week. And I'm still I got some anxiety trying to get it all done. Got a few things up in the air, and hopefully they all come together. Okay, so you see Cope's van on the right. This is a great photo to kind of showcase, the blue inside it. Here you have Sean Carlson's 4Runner, which we saw on the table of contents. Endless Summer. Shout out to New Choice. We had Cliff on recently, and they do a good job of hashtagging their photos. But something I just love during this era of looking at the magazine is like all the colors, right? So you see the colorful logo there with Endless Summer 96, but again, seeing Cope's van and Sean Carlson's 4Runner, even this, dude, just a fleet side bed, people packed in it, having a good time, some billets, no worries in the world. Probably looks like a Phantom grill, because I remember those grills, the way those side markers kind of were. That's what it looks like. But, man, you'd flip this magazine open and you're just like, damn, dude. Shout out to my homie, my severed brother, Howard. You guys have seen, I've been posting some of these photos, but, to be able to go back and kind of match some of the stuff up, like, for instance, he's got one where this S10 reminds me of mine. Of course, this was a lot lower in that same year than mine was. I bought mine in 97. But, centerline wheels. And that one looks like a long bed, right? I think. Sometimes it's hard to tell in the photos. It can be deceiving. This is a good place. Sometimes they would include the artwork, so I can kind of scan those to have the artwork. The other thing that's worth noting, you have the famous cover truck here, and then another of Carlson's 4Runner. Oftentimes when I'm looking for dates, I'm looking at the magazines. Websites help a lot, but if you think about 96, right, show coverage 96, issue 97, websites, there's really no online show coverage from that era unless people have scanned photos, because you have to remember, this truck's epic. Long bed for sure. You got to remember, in this era, digital really wasn't a thing. I do have some digital photos in my photo library from the late 90s, early 2000s, when you could get a digital camera. But if you think about even Sport Truck, if you start to look, they had stuff from 96 and 97, I think is when they started. 97, 98 for sure, but some of it, I sometimes wonder, was either, the people that were lucky enough to have digital cameras, or did they go and scan the photos? That type of deal. Check it out. It's cool to see, like, this style is so big even today, the Cali style. But I say all that just because, man, times are epic. But it is, very fortunate that we have all of this data, so to speak, to go back and refer to from a timeline perspective. I'm a big proponent when I post stuff. I don't like to just post the show coverage. A lot of people just scroll, they don't read the captions and stuff. But for me, it's important to be able to have the dates and show names and things like that, if possible. So a super clean Mazda. One of the most featured vehicles or trucks in this magazine. You can see kind of a darker feature here because of the paint, darker paint. But pretty crazy, right? You got the inside of the bed done. It's topless. You got a tilt bed. You got a tilt hood. You got a lot going on, which is good. Crazy detailed engine bay. And a little bit lighter photo kind of there. You can see the speaker box looks like behind the passenger seat. But too smooth. Courtney shot this one. And Tom Lutz did the write-up. Power packed, super clean. This reminds me of the Blazer that I saw at Mini Nats. I'd like to remind everyone, Southeast Mini Truckin Nationals every April. One of the most epic mini truck shows you'll ever go to. And then, of course, Lone Star Throwdown. I pre-registered today for Conroe. I think they sold 1,500-ish. I think it was 14 or 1,500 pre-registrations in less than about 24 hours. That's insane. But come out to Mini Nats next year in April and have a good time with us. So you got unique creations. You know, stuff you would see of that era. The stereo. And you don't really see that kind of stuff, you know, detailed like that. I mean, probably more on the car stereo circuit. You'd see a lot of those kind of features in auto sound and security when they would detail, like when the guys would show the wire, or they'd have a little area in there where you can kind of see the different gauge wire and stuff. Here was always, I guess, kind of a cool 90s themed ad. You know, a lot of color. You've got the famous Reds hopper in the back, wire wheels. You know, that's a good ad to have in this kind of magazine. Epicness. Clean concept. February 97, you got the centerfold. A lot of guys would bend these staples. Look how clean that bed is. Those colors. You've got the plexi/glass. I guess plexiglass. What I like is at the front, you see fuel, water, oil. You get your little kit going on there. Ooh, that stereo. Tell me that stereo is not sick. When you think about, a lot of times the stereo setup would just kind of go from here back. You talk about utilizing the space. Now, it might be hard to see out the back window. Who cares? But look, you still got the seat belts. You got your 3JL subs. When a killer box, that probably sounded fantastic. You got all the amps above, everything displayed. I mean, dude, killer. No wonder this truck got the cover. Look at the engine bay. Nothing overly done. Super clean. Some stuff polished. Those famous hose deals in that era. And you got the Optima battery. You got some chrome, a little bit of chrome going on there. Fantastic. Killer truck. This is Budnik Wheels. I forget if it was the 6th cover. But, you know, Budnik by now had a few covers under their belt as far as, you know. And when I say Budnik, you know, it wasn't their cover. It was their customer with Budnik Wheels. So, you know, I want to make that clear. But look how clean everything is done. Always love seeing not only the seats done, but also like all of these items painted, the plastics painted or wrapped in tweed. Killer steering wheel. You got the colors that tie in from the paint to the inside of the bed we saw, but look at the door panel. You've got that same peach color. You got some crazy kick panel speakers. I wouldn't even call those kick panels. I mean, those are freaking speaker pods down there, right? Here you got a better shot of the inside of the bed, what I was showing earlier. And this truck, I mean, Shartsis did a fantastic job shooting it with this backdrop. I think it's just awesome how good it came out. Especially with the colors of the truck. Here you can see more of the stereo, and to me that is super sick. How the interior bed and paint comes through here with those little items, but how there's a cover that goes over the subs. I mean, dude, the amount of craftsmanship, super sick. And this is Robert Kaminsky's 86.5 Nissan King Cab. You see there, and you see Unique Creations, Vegas famed Unique Creations. And super sick. I mean, dude, anybody know if this truck's still around? What do you think of that truck? I don't think this truck can get, you know, enough credit for how awesome and clean it was. Totally digging it. So you see the Budnik Wheels, 17s. This was the era of 17s were like big. And again, that's another thing I love about mini trucking. You know, we've been through so many eras of the big wheels, and I've said it many times, you know, we help push that whole big wheel, you know, we being the mini truck scene. But it is cool to see us getting back to our roots with smaller wheels. I think 17 is like a perfect wheel size. Here's Dunlop Sport Truck Nationals. And what I see here is that S10 Sonoma that I mentioned here that I used to always kind of follow. This is when I remember it had the Firestone on the front, the windshield, but it also had, for a while, at least for a few photos I saw, it had an airbag, a Firestone airbag sticker on the back glass of the topper, which was pretty cool. You got the Dakota. Those were, I guess, not the most popular mini truck, but that was the version that I have in an old sport truck ad that I got to show sometime. But here's what I want to show. So you got the Killer Blazer. You got the Dime, super clean. Always love those billet grills. But look, Mike needs to step his game up with Project Bananarama, his Amic. It just has a rhyme to it, doesn't it? But he could do the gold wing doors, and I think he could pull it off. Okay? Unibody, French antenna, do it, Mike. Now, the problem is Mike doesn't watch YouTube. I don't think he knows what YouTube is, so I'll have to hit him up on Facebook. Sense and Sensibility. Shartsis shot it. Different interior. Maybe didn't age the best. Kind of reminds me of some wallpaper. Not dissing it, okay? This is the era. But I would tell you what, I would remix that and make it fire. But in all seriousness, I love this truck. Has that ballistic feel to it, and I'd rock it all day. This is shot by Shartsis. So he was putting the work in. Not only was he shooting the covers, man, he was out there doing the features. Okay, NOPI Nationals. Little fun fact, if you look down here, NOPI, #1 parts importers. Okay, these shows, the guys I was running with early in my truck days, you know, they would go to, you know, NOPI 97, 98, you know, that type of thing. I went NOPI 99 and 2000, I want to say, were the years that I went. And it kind of was maybe starting to see the decline a little bit of minis. You know, there were still some there. But look at how many were here. Lots of good colors. I wonder if that's that one truck that ended up getting laid out. Same kind of color. Brendan Burrell would know. He knows the one I'm talking about. I think there were two trucks that were similar. You even have the hieroglyphics Mazda I posted not too long ago. So again, Joe Grieve, shout out to him. And then this truck parked next to our booth, in our booth, a couple years ago in Tampa. Pretty sure it was the same one. Guy still owns it. He had it out at Daytona as well. Pretty cool to see these trucks still around. The one that sticks out to me is a couple of them. You got the Mazda. You know I love my Mazdas. And you've got this killer Blazer. And then you've got what, the Rabbit? Is that a Rabbit? I don't know much about those. Okay, new style time. You got the triple axle. This was in Tampa before with the yellow one. Shout out to Ed. Ed's a good dude. at Isuzu. He shared those photos with me in the past. Dude, was it Chris Cross in the house? All right, so you got continued coverage, and then here you see where it was Kent Cundy's 92 Mazda, Oklahoma, Charles the Kid. I was texting with him just this week. Good dude. I like that he's doing a little bit of GoPro or a little bit of Instagram Live. Here you have Scott's rear engine V8 Isuzu, and it's still around. We saw it a few years ago up in Gainesville. So, moving right along. You got wired. Do you have enough protection in your bed? More ads. Boom and bass. With the Vegas pumping, right? Paul Morton, of course, we've had him on before. If you haven't checked out the podcast, please do yourself a favor. You can actually listen to newer episodes here on YouTube, but it's so much easier. Search OLP or Our Lifestyle Podcast via your favorite podcast app, and subscribe and or follow. It is totally free. So here, you could see the NC. Look at those floor mats. Super sick. And you can see the Toyota. Right, so pretty cool stuff. I used to love these like easier tech articles because, you know, I didn't have any skills to do any of the big stuff. So like the simple stuff was awesome. Here you've got the 97 Isuzu Hombre. This reminds me so much of my truck because my S10 had the same setup. Mine had this radio, but when I got it, I think the radio had been swapped. I remember right here is where my alarm little blinking light was at, and mine was the watered down version. I want to say maybe 97 was the first year. Yeah, new for 97. This was by Lance. Something I've always liked, and my Mazda does not have, they're missing the little, I call them jumper seats. Reminds me of like a, you know, on an airplane. But this truck really reminds me of my truck because the seats were similar. They did start to change after 97 as far as the S10 and Sonoma. But that brings back some good memories there. Here, Desired Creations. So you've got Pacific Northwest. Shout out to all of our fam up there. Really appreciate all the love and support we get. I see Jamie from Mini Trucker Colt. He is back with a new episode of their podcast, and I know he recently moved. And I tell you what, man, I need to get some of those bikes from him. You can't not underestimate how much Mazdas played. They still play a huge role in our scene, but I mean, dude, check it out. Now, sure, there's a Toyota, there's an S10, you know, I get it. There's a Datsun, but something about those Mazdas. You got the Isuzu Hombre rendering that we saw on the cover. Here you've got the cover truck. I would like when they do this too. It kind of shows the show coverage. And keep me honest, different wheels there, right? So, you know, kind of gives a little unique perspective, you know, where they just swapped out for the feature. Had they swapped them, you know, for that show, and then that show was where they shot it. Always intriguing, you know, and it's cool that a lot of people, I've said this before, a lot of folks, we're all getting older, and, you know, the kids are watching this, and hey, that was my dad's truck, or hey, that was my little sketch there. That's why I kind of try to go through this stuff a little slower. Appreciate all of the love that we get, man. We really do. Okay, so Trenz Manufacturing, we've had Doug DeBerti on. Many of you are probably following Doug. It's DeBerti, DeBerti, and then, of course, his son is on the rise. He's a great dude. He chimed in. I met them both. Thanks to Josh Ellis, again, for the link up. And we had Doug on, and Doug talked about the history, and there are rumblings. You know, he mentioned that he does want to bring it back. Look at the epic shirts. But pretty cool stuff there. I mean, it really is. You know, it's our history, and it was ironic because when Josh was like, yo, Hardbody and Trenz, you know, some name. I mean, listen, I've got a lot going through my head, and there's some names that ring a bell, obviously, and there's some that don't. And Josh being from the West, you know, he knew the connection of Hardbody, and it was really cool to have him on the podcast. This was kind of a photo we would see Phil Fowler. Shout out to Phil, the OG. Phil Fowler for president. You know, he had a similar photo in there, and this was kind of cool. And here you can see Rod Osweiler's Extreme Dreams. You've got the Pro Hopper ad. Always like that ad. Of course, got an S10 in it. Yellow and some purple haze. Pretty cool Ranger. Am I the only one? I liked the... Well, okay. Here's the thing. So let's look at this. In the summer 92, 91 Ford Ranger, these were or were not made in extended cab? So yeah. I was going to say, I like the non-extended cabs, but as I started to say that, I was looking at that glass and I was like, is that from a newer Ford Ranger? Chime in, Ford guys. Because, you know, you see the French antenna and things like that. And as I'm going through these, it's easy to go, oh, it's right there. I'm trying to read as fast as I can. But, yeah, I can't remember. Were those extended cabs too? They probably were. It's been a long day, and this week we are super busy at work. Every August we deal with a lot of contractor licensing stuff, so my brain is like fried. But I'm still here, giving the content. Okay, look at all the mini magazines. Pretty cool stuff. That was probably the first time we saw in the magazine that I can remember, going through all these issues, that, you know, someone had them all laid out like that. Again, look at the bed treatments. You know, you just don't see stuff like this. I mean, you do, but in different levels, you know, with metal work and smooth this and radius that. Bonsai Cruisers of Canada sponsor a day of fun. That killer Mazda Blazer and another Mazda. See, Mike needs to do that with all the plant deals, but with bananas. And then here you go. Check this out. Doug Hardbody runs an ad. New for 96. You got the Trenz Cali, the old plate. You got the Oregon plate. And shout out to Tim, NC Florida. He had saw one of these videos, and he had mentioned, he goes, yo, ODBZ. He's like, Billet Specialties is making the one that you talked about that had the light in it, that you had gotten from Steve Nielsen back in the day. It's still out there. But Tim, Todd, and Randy, have a safe trip across the country. I think we'll be chatting this week, possibly for some audio for episode 300. We'll have to see. Please go out there, subscribe, check out the latest video. I uploaded something with a copyright on it, which was the Downwood MTV kind of parody video. But you could check it out. There's a lot of cameos in it. Recipes Gilbert Godfrey. But this ties into how we came up with the naming convention. So check it out. I did ODB's Corner, and I uploaded that. 2 separate videos to keep it fresh. Issue 62, February 97. Shartsis shot it. Killer issue. Unique creation. Shout out to those guys. Stay on the rise. We at ya.